Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this lovely, miserable night. Call the meeting to order, and if everyone could stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, as we get started, I'm going to defer to Mark Davis just for a brief explanation of our reorganizational meeting tonight.
Okay, the reason we're here, and this year is, as I indicated to the board at our last meeting, is a off year. And what I mean by that is every other year, the reorganization meeting is a little more complex because we have new board members or just had an election. Tonight, under the Pennsylvania School Code, every school district is required, except for maybe Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, to reorganize in the first week of December. So obviously this is our first Tuesday, and we customarily meet on Tuesdays. So we're going to reorganize, which means what we must do tonight is during the reorganization meeting, elect a president and a vice president for the board. If any of you are wondering, the secretary and treasurer, their seats come up in July and May, respectively. So we don't elect those folks tonight. There may be some other appointments and other small items like the, I won't say small, but other items such as an appointment to the Western Center. After that, we will adjourn this meeting. Please don't go anywhere, because shortly thereafter, we will start our regular business meeting for the month. Let me just remind everybody, and nobody ever listens, so I won't get offended. But I say this every year, everywhere I go, and people do things as a custom of habit. Technically, under Robert's rules, you do not have to second a nomination. You make a nomination, you see there's another nomination, our temporary chair will pause then. When we hear nothing from the board in terms of further nominations, I'll ask Diane as secretary. She calls the meeting to order, as she has done, until we elect a president by code, and then I'll ask her to ask for a motion to close nominations. That we will second. I hate to be so onerous about this. Then we'll vote on closing nominations, and then we'll go back to the underlying nominations, and we may do that by roll call, we may do it by acclamation, we may do it by voice vote. I would suggest we see where we end up with nominations, how many, and whether we can do it that way. Enough said, I'm running out of breath. Diane, it's time for us to elect a president for the upcoming year.
Do we need to ask for public comment at all? If there's any public comment at this point on this part of the agenda, this part of the meeting? Okay. Seeing none?
I must have done a good job.
I guess. At this point, I would ask for nominations for temporary president.
Go for president.
Oh,
Okay, we'll make you temporary, okay.
for temporary president.
I nominate Diane Cherico.
Hearing no other nominations, let me just suggest that we close the nominations, and by acclamation, we accept Diane as our temporary chair.
Thank you.
Motion closed.
Don't need that. And we don't even need to vote.
Well, let's.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Now I would entertain nominations at, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rick would like to say a few words, sorry.
Right. Before we start the nominations, I just wanted to say a couple of quick words, and it is very quick. And apologize, I'm reading to make sure I don't screw it up. I want to thank everyone for their support during my year as board president. I've decided to step down from the presidency for this year in order to take back some of my time to devote to my profession and my family. Further, it's clear to me that Matt Alexander is the best person to take the role of the presidency at this time. I fully give him my support and ask that everyone on the board unite around his presidency. Therefore, when the president pro tem opens the nominations, I will be nominating Matt Alexander, and I will give him my enthusiastic vote.
Thank you, Rick. Now I would ask for nominations for president.
And I nominate Matt Alexander.
there a second? Or,
Motion to close.
oh, I'm sorry, motion to close the nominations, sorry.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion,
Now, all those in favor, Matt?
all those in favor of Matt Alexander as our new president, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Good. Matt Alexander, our new board president.
Yeoman's work.
Are you switching now
We're
or no?
gonna stay here till,
Gotcha, okay. Now I'd like to entertain nominations for vice president.
Al-Leach. And Ani Al-Leach.
Motion to close the nominations?
Motion to close.
Second.
We have a motion and to close the nominations. All those in favor of Al Leach as vice president?
First, we gotta close.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. You only do this once a year.
I know, I am so, I should have talked to you last. I should have talked to you when you called me.
I don't know why it has to be so hard.
Right.
You're doing fine.
Right. Motion to close the nomination.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, all those in favor of Al Leach as vice president?
Aye.
Opposed? Al Leach, our new vice president.
Now, I guess I'll take it elsewhere.
Wait till after
We have to, we can start the next meeting.
Now,
Mr. Davis, how about the,
Matt does, the rest of it now?
Okay, thank you, everybody. Just to get us through the rest of tonight's agenda, what I would like to do, as we've done in the past, is to hold off on making any changes to committees until we can all have an opportunity to talk. I mean, I think committees have been effective this past year. I think they've done a great job. I'm not sure if anybody wants to move around, get somewhere new. But I think also something to consider is there's probably a pretty big benefit to continuity, especially on some of these committees where a lot of good and big things are happening. So my recommendation there is let's take the time to think about those things, not that we haven't been already, because we know what time of year it is, but if we can make some decisions when we come back in January on committees, if everybody's agreeable to that, that'd be great, I think. So are we okay? Are we in agreement there? So we will hold, go ahead.
The Western Center one,
Yeah, that's,
term ending
that's,
now.
yep, that's next. The Western Center seat, actually, my seat at the Western Center expires in December of 2016. So I am asking that someone considers stepping up and taking over my seat at the Western Center, considering that I'll be busy this year more so than last year with other things, Pottsgrove. So if there is anybody interested, what I can say, being on the JOC at the Western Center has been an outstanding experience for the last 3 years for me. They are doing wonderful things there and with a lot of other great things in the works. So they need the support from Pottsgrove. They need the Pottsgrove voice. We are a third of what they're doing over there. Actually, I think we might be a little bit more than a third. I think we send the second most students to the Western Center right now. And we need a strong Pottsgrove voice. So I don't know now if now's the time, but we do need a volunteer for that
And
seat.
everybody may know this at the sake of, being pedantic, for everybody's benefit, Bob Lindgren and Patty Grimm are already on, so we can't enlist their aid. We can't draft them, so it's somebody else. Oh, you do it.
already on
I'm on the
the
MCIU board.
So she's not going to be available either. So does this have to be done tonight?
It doesn't have to be. The only thing that will happen is that we won't have an authorized representative in January.
Right, they meet a day before us in January.
Let me just say that there are two things that are, it won't be the end of the world if we don't have a third representative. There are two things that I can think of off the top of my head that have some significance. We'll be electing and reorganizing a new chair there, and it's very likely that that chair may very well come from Pottsgrove. Again, for those of you that have not been involved, the articles of agreement there indicate you can't have the board chair there and the superintendent be from the same district. And it would appear that David Gooden from Springford is going to be the superintendent of record. And as a result, therefore, the new chair will have to come from somewhere but Springford. Currently, it's held by a Springford member. The other thing of some significance, and again, if you're not ready to do it, again, I don't want to suggest it's the end of the world, is that there is some talk about, and it may be discussed at that meeting, some declining enrollments and some alteration of programs. So, that's, again, we can do that with 8 people as well as 9. It's always nice to have a full complement.
Right, and I'm not wanting to take something new on, but I do know that it's important that Pottsgrove be represented. There are, from discussions with Matt and others on the board, our voice is 1/3 of the representation, but big decisions often require, just like here, 5 people. So if you don't have one of ours, then our interests might not be well represented there. So anyway, that's all I got on that.
So, I mean, it seems like maybe we don't have anyone ready tonight, but,
Well, can I make
But-
a suggestion, maybe, Matt, at the risk of you really over and throttling me, that we appoint you till January, so we have somebody there in January, and then you either formally resign, or we understand it's a 1-month appointment, and then we can get a new person in January, hopefully?
if we can work that angle, I'm fine with going in January, just so that we have somebody.
Why
in
don't
the
we
seat.
do that, and you'll resign at the end of January?
Okay. Do we need to
We should make a motion
make a
extending
motion
you.
and take a vote then?
I nominate Matt Alexander for 1 month.
Yeah, we'll all second that.
Thanks.
I will be happy to go and enjoy the community dinner in January. One more time.
Matt, would you be able to maybe email us all some information on what you guys do, how often you meet, all that? I mean, I know it's a big,
I can do that, no problem. Another thing that I would encourage, if you have, it is a very short meeting, but if you have the time on that Monday night, I think it's January 9th, come to the dinner.
Yeah,
Come to the
we're
community
planning on it.
dinner.
I already
and
talked to my family about
Meet the people at the Western
Hey,
Center.
look,
meet
gosh,
their
it doesn't
staff.
get any better. You get to see me one more time a month.
So anybody who thinks they might want to consider it, I'll send something, that outlines what we do there, and feel free again to attend that meeting. And we don't need a second on the nomination, right? So, it has been? Sorry, I missed that in the conversation. All in favor? Opposed? Thanks again. Okay, so, other open positions that we will need to fill are the Recreation Board, the Pennsylvania School Board Association Liaison, And again, the committee appointments, we can discuss all of those things. People want to stay, I think that's fine. If people want to switch around, then we can talk about that too, but we have some weeks. So all I ask is that in the next 7 days or so, everybody get in touch with me and let me know what your feelings are and what you'd like to be doing for the next year. Turn that off. We should be ready to adjourn at this point, so I will make the motion to adjourn this meeting. Sure. If I can get a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. Okay, I'll call the next meeting to order. Roll. We have everyone except Mrs. Grimm present tonight. And I want to announce that we will have an executive session following tonight's meeting to discuss personnel. Moving to approval of the monthly board minutes. I will make a motion to approve the board action minutes from the November 15th board meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are not. Okay. Okay, over to you.
Okay. Tonight, we have several pieces of information to share with the board.
Just say, Dr. Sher, before we get started real quickly, we have no requests for public comment, so we kind of skipped over that because we didn't have a request. So I just wanted to make that clear for the minutes and the record. No problem?
Thank you, Mr. Davis, for catching that. I appreciate that. As the report of the superintendent tonight, we would like to start out with our junior board rep, Mason McIntyre. If you would please give us your report, please.
Okay. All right. So as you can notice, I'm flying solo tonight. Maya has a dress rehearsal, so she couldn't make it tonight. It's for actually one of the announcements I'm going to make tonight. Okay. So, dress code update. Maya and I have been in the process of creating a rough draft of a revised dress code policy so that it is less ambiguous, taking out words and phrases such as immoral and in good taste, and replacing them with more specific guidelines. Once a rough draft is finalized, we will get feedback from administration and students and revise the draft once again. And then we will eventually present our findings to you. Overall, it has been a long process, but I just wanted to let you know that we are making progress on it.
Can I just ask a question? Did you mean immoral or immodest?
It's immoral, but either way, it's still a little bit ambiguous, and it's kind of the eyes of the beholder. And that's one of the things that we want to try to clear up. So next thing is that we got a quote from Ryan Costello about his visit here. He said, "I had a great visit to Pottsgrove High School last month. The students and staff were incredibly welcoming, and I really enjoyed discussing important issues such as tackling the debt and college affordability with students. The future of Pennsylvania and our country is in good hands." Next thing is the rain garden at the high school was built on November 17th with the help of the Delaware Estuary Nonprofit Organization. Having Mr. Adams as a teacher, I know that he was very passionate about this and that he was very excited to see it done. Next announcement is that the winter music concerts are coming up. That's where Maya is right now. For all schools. So I hope that those go well, and we wish them luck. For the high school, the administration this is about the student forums. The administration has worked hard to address some of the issues presented at the student forums, such as cleanliness of the high school and quality of the lunches. I think that it's really great that Dr. Ziegler and Mr. Daney are doing these student forums because they really get to hear what the students have to say. I mean, they might hear a couple people, but this we get 16 individuals, even split between the grades and genders, and we just get all different good points of view, and it's really a great thing that they've done. So the high school boys and girls maroon and white games are tonight, so we hope that they do well, and at the end of the day, have fun. I know that's pretty cliche, but hopefully everyone just has fun. Okay, to the middle school. Mix It Up Day is coming up. This is when the students change seating arrangements to meet new people and create an accepting environment centered around friendship and diversity. I think this is a great thing that the school does, and I think that it's really helpful for the students to meet new people, just get around kind of thing. The annual gift or no gift. This is run by student government at the middle school, and the students put their names in a raffle, and if their ticket is chosen, a gift is awarded and proceeds go to charity. At the elementary schools, First at Rocks, the family sing-along and craft day. This is when the students create holiday-inspired crafts and get with their families, as well as sing some famous holiday songs. It's a great way to really embrace the time of the season and get kids involved. So at Lower Pottsgrove, student leaders are collecting for the 6th Street shelter in Allentown as a community service project. This helps Pottsgrove reach out and give back to the community, and I think it's really good to get our name out there and get some good press. And also help the community. Don't want to say it like that. Okay, and the final note at West Pottsgrove, they're going to have a good citizen luncheon and holiday sing-along. It rewards students who excel in academics and citizenship. So yeah, that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mason?
I just had one. Mason, can you tell us what the rain guard project was?
Yes, the rain garden, so you know how, so there's Rocks, there's our school, and then there's that really ugly thing right here. So Mr. Adams was a teacher of mine last year, and it was his mission to fix that. Like, we took several trips out there. He's like, this is not okay. We're gonna fix this, and we did. And they did. So basically, what a rain garden is I actually have a definition right here. Let's see. Okay, a rain garden is a planted hole that allows rainwater runoff the opportunity to be absorbed by the plants. So they all planted different plants. It's really just a way to, I guess, make everything look good and yet keep things like together and well organized. Like, I know the asphalt gets really affected if it's saturated by water and the runoff. So that's one thing that it will fix. So yeah.
Okay, and I would just like to add that my wife and I had the opportunity last week to attend the elementary concert, which consisted of lower Pottsgrove elementary students in 4th and 5th grade. It was really a great event. The kids did a great job. They represented themselves and their families very, very well. The parking lot was full. Not that it was standing room only, but it was a really great experience. So I just wanted to basically announce the Pottsgrove concert series, if you will, coming up the next few weeks. It continues tomorrow night with the middle school and high school orchestra at the middle school, and then December 9th, it's the middle school and high school band at the middle school as well. On December 12th, it's the elementary advanced band and advanced orchestra, again, takes place at Pottsgrove Middle School. And then on December 15th, the middle school chorus will provide the music, and that also takes place at Pottsgrove Middle School. You're probably asking, why am I saying Pottsgrove Middle School? Because there is one location change on December 22nd. That's the high school course, and that will be at Pottsgrove, High School. So too many groves and too many pots is there. So I just wanted to welcome everybody out. It's a great experience. It's a great time for the families to get together. And I wanted to have the opportunity to speak and to get this information out to our public. So thank you for that. Moving on to discussion items. At this time, we have an audit presentation, and Mr. Nestor will introduce our guest for this presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Shirk. We actually have two representatives from our audit firm here this evening. Mr. Chris Turtell is the partner in charge of our audit who'll be speaking, and the person who really got her hands dirty and did all the legwork for us, Megan Thompson, is also here. She's the manager on the audit. So anything that Chris can't answer, I'm sure Megan can. So, Chris?
Well, thank you for having me here this evening. All right, well, maybe. There we go. So thank you for having me here this evening. Like Dave said, I am the partner in charge of the Pottsgrove audit. Doing a little something different this year in the audit presentation. You'll see there's a landscaped folder in front of you this evening. Going to try a little shortened presentation, concise, bring it down, stop all the flipping around from page to page, and really bring it back down to what's more useful to you as a board. So first and foremost, I'm going to flip past the overview and go right into the introduction page, which is on page 3. Just a little reminder then, so as auditors, our responsibility is to give two opinions on the financial statements. First is on the financial statements, whether they're in compliance with GAAP, and the second is on the federal program that we audit during the financial statements, which this year was your National School Lunch Program, Child Nutrition Cluster, it's called. Flipping to page 4, you will see that we have an unmodified opinion on both of those opinions this year. So unmodified as an auditor is the cleanest opinion that we can give. That means we had little adjustments on the federal program side. We didn't have any material noncompliance. And we'll talk a little bit more about the federal programs in a moment. But from our standpoint, that's a clean audit from the opinion standpoint from us as auditors. I'm going to take a moment, just kind of recap the general fund. We'll move into the general fund, into your proprietary funds, and then into the federal programs as we go along here. First, I'm going to talk about general funds. You'll see on page 5 a little chart that gives you your 2015, 16, and then also your budget for 2016 on the right-hand side. A couple of items just to point out. So when we perform our audit, we spend a lot of time not only verifying the numbers, but also looking at the budget to actual and just kind of working through and seeing what was planned on happening, what actually happened, and where did our differences come forth, and working through those differences to see where we are. On the revenue side, we were within $500,000 of our budget overall, so less than 1% variance in overall revenues from budget to actual. The expenditures, we were about a 4.5% variance in expenditures. So a lot of favorable variances, so to speak, through the expenditures. We're going to see that detail in a moment, so I'm not going to spend much time on that now. Coming down 2016, third number from the bottom, we will see the change in fund balance this year for the general fund after transfers was an additional $856,000, which brings total fund balance in the general fund to $13,989,268. Page 6 just gives a little bit of a breakdown just to show you more pictorially, so to speak, when you look at your revenues for the year, that 70% of your revenues do come from local sources. On average, we have 17 traditional school districts that we audit at Herbine & Company. The average amongst our school districts is about 72%. So right along average where we would expect that to be. Page 7 gives a little bit more information on your expenditures. Breaks it down into your instruction, support services, non-instructional, which would be your student activities, debt service, and then your total expenditures for the year. Again, you'll see that same variance of about $2.8 million in your total expenditures. As we went through and we looked at many different areas where favorable variances occurred, this day and age, when you're off by 1% in revenues, when you add 60% for benefit costs, because between 30% for pension, give or take 20% for health insurance, and 7.65 for FICA, any little variance really snowballs fairly quickly when you're looking at personnel costs. And since 75% of all of your costs really are personnel costs, that's where we see most budget fluctuations in our districts. Page 8 just gives you a little bit of a pie chart view to see where our expenditures in the general fund actually are. The left-hand pie chart gives you your Pottstown School District breakdown. The right pie chart is actually our trends. So again, we audit 17 school districts. Here's our average for expenditures. So our average expenditures for instruction are about 58% of total expenditures. Yours are 59. This year's debt service for Pottsgrove is 8% of total expenditures. Our average for our districts is about 11%. So just giving you a little bit of an idea where you fit into the other districts. And we audit districts in Lancaster, Berks, Chester, and Montgomery counties. So all of your neighboring, so to speak. Page 9 just gives you a little bit more trend detail, so I'll just flip by that and give you to page 10. Page 10 gives you your balance sheet. So this is your ending fund balance for your governmental funds. We'll see general fund, capital projects, and debt service. So again, we'll see that same $13,989,000 as the total underneath the general fund. That $13,989,000, we have committed funds there of $8,555,000 for various items such as retirement, post-employment benefits, vocational education. We also have our assigned fund balance. Part of that is to balance next year's budget, the 16-17 budget that would be, and also some athletic funds that are still mixed in with the general fund. Under capital projects, we have about $11.8 million, and this is as of June 30th, so there's been some movement since then. But of that $11.7 million, about $2.5 million is unspent bond proceeds, whereas the remainder, about $9 million, is your capital reserve. And that would include the $1.5 million transfer from the general fund this year, also the $1.5 million that flowed from the internal service fund to the general fund and back over to the capital projects fund. So you'll see a pretty significant increase in capital reserve this year. Any question on the governmental funds?
No question. I just wanted to comment that it is a pretty big increase, but we also have some pretty big expenditures coming on a capital side. So just trying to keep ahead of it, I think, is the best way to explain it.
Yeah, and to that effect, I can tell you, throughout our districts, roofs and HVAC systems seem to be the big discussion topics. And anybody who's dealt with roofs in school buildings before, it's not a $30,000 project like you're doing at home or somewhere else. It's a significant undertaking. So I'm going to flip past page 11 and 12 to get to page 13. Just spend a minute on the food service fund. So you do outsource your food service fund here. So food service, you'll see a trend for 14, 15, and 16 on page 13. Change in net position for the current year in 2016 was actually a positive $22,589, which is the right-hand column, third number from the bottom, leaving an ending net position of $55,000 in your food service fund. You'll actually see this is the first year we've had a positive trend in food service for the last 3 years. Which is good because it keeps that fund balance there, or net position in Nick's case, and allows the food service fund to stay self-sustaining without any contributions over from the general fund. Page 14 gives you insight into your internal service fund. So this is your self-insurance for medical, prescription, and dental. The item I want to point out on 2016, one, we still have operating expenses increasing. So as much as our costs for health insurance have been somewhat controlled over the last few years, we do still see an increase in overall insurance expenses. But you'll see the $1.5 million that also was transferred out of internal service. Just a reminder, that was the original $1.5 million that was placed over from the general fund several years ago when you started the internal service fund. So we're just simply bringing that money back and then placing it over to capital reserve to use it for any capital needs that we have. So 15 just gives you a little bit of a trend information for any of you curious as to how insurance expenses have been over the last couple of years. You can see how we started off. For those of you who may not have been on the board at that point, self-insurance was a great venture but did not go well the first 2 years. You can see that claims history, we have made some adjustments to that. But you will see the prescription costs keep increasing and that medical costs have started to increase again. So it's important to keep that reserve. We have a reserve, and we can see that on page 16. We recommend a reserve of at least $3 million. The ending balance for Pottsgrove is closer to $4 million at this point in time. But that gives you about 6.5 months worth of claims in there. Now, the reason we do it by claims, the average is about 4% that we look to make sure you have on hand. You have stop loss that does protect you from any catastrophic claims. However, several stop loss claims do add up pretty quickly, and you want to make sure being self-insured, you have a risk, so you have some coverage there.
Can I chime in for a second here?
Sure.
We have gotten our first look rates for the current, or the 17-18 year, and our medical plan continues to run at a pretty good operating level. Proposals at this point are 5 to 6% increase there. We hope that goes down. Unfortunately, our prescription plan is not doing well. We have some participants who are utilizing some extremely expensive drugs, some that have hit the stop loss attachment point just on drug utilization without any health care involved. And that attachment point is $200,000. So, I mean, these are life-saving drugs, but they're very expensive drugs. So, you know, we're doing what we can to control the cost of those medications, but as long as, you know, we have more people getting sick in that direction, we're going to have some challenges in our prescription plan. The first look rate was about a 25% increase. I don't believe it will be anywhere near that when we get done, but it has the potential for continued significant increases for the next few years, given the prevalence of specialty drugs in the marketplace now.
Page 17 just gives you a little bit of a summary on some key footnotes within the statements themselves. So I know you had a chance to receive the PDF financial statements over the last week. You'll see it's a pretty voluminous document, about 84, 85 pages, I believe we're up to now. So just a couple of key points if there's certain items you want to see. I would also encourage you to read the management discussion analysis that Dave and his team puts together. It's a really good read, gives you some good idea what happened during the year and the challenges that the district faces going forward financially. Page 18 is a little bit of a busy chart, but I put this in here just to remind you that even though we continue to march forward on our PSERS increases every year, 17, 18, we're starting to get to a point where at least the increases have slowed, but they're still there. What we're looking at here is the blue line shows you what your gross PSERS costs are. The orange line shows you the net cost. That's with your reimbursement from the state. And the dotted line just shows you that the 52% is about the average reimbursement that you receive from the state on your costs. So when you're talking $6.4 million that you're contributing into the PSERS plan, you're receiving about 52% of that back from the state as a reimbursement. But it's still a pretty significant expenditure, obviously, that you're dealing with on an annual basis. 19 just gives you a little bit of a chart on your debt service, so you can see your debt service going out forward. Pretty level, obviously, as you're going down. And lastly, on page 20 is our federal awards. So as I mentioned earlier, we tested the child nutrition cluster this year. In that testing, we did find one deviation. A clerical error is the best way to describe the deviation. When you're serving meals at each one of the schools, at the end of the month, you submit a claim report into PDE, who then reimburses you certain percentages for free, reduced, and paid meals. In this case, the error was made on the input side. Simple mistake, instead of entering paid meals, the total meals were input. It was corrected about 2 or 3 months after when the mistake was noticed. But from our standpoint, we test the controls in place. We look to see what control is going to be in place to stop that clerical error from happening, and what can we recommend to help from having that happen in the future. So in this case, we're talking a couple $100. It wasn't a large variance by any means, but again, we're testing a system, not just the dollar amount. So there is a corrective action. You will also notice in your financial statement itself, it's not in this binder, but we're satisfied as auditors that the action taken satisfies what the clerical error was, and hopefully it avoids that towards the future, so. Lastly, underneath your financial statement, you'll find that there's two letters. It's actually going to be separate from this booklet here. You'll have two letters on letterhead. One's a thicker letter, one will be a thinner letter. The thicker letter is our communication letter to you as a board, just to let you know that we didn't have any material findings, we didn't have any unmodified opinion, we had a clean opinion, no disagreements with management. On the management letter side, more just reminders than anything else. Act 168 was the new pass the trash, so to speak, legislation this year. Very difficult, very cumbersome for your HR to keep track of that. We did have one instance where a document wasn't in place that we needed when we did our testing. That was followed up on timely. There is a process in place, but again, it's a very, very arduous process to keep going back and making sure when you hire a substitute or a new teacher who's been at 3 or 4 different districts, to go back and get all those clearances can be pretty difficult. So I commend the staff for the efforts that they had. One deviation is really not anything we were too concerned about this year. So that is all I have for you this evening. Any questions? Thank you again for having us, Den. We do appreciate you coming out here every year. And I thank Dave and his team. They do a nice job keeping everything together for us and making the audit process pretty smooth. So thank you.
Could I just point out one thing, just so the public knows that this entire program was on board docs for any of the public to see.
Bill, before we move forward with actions, I'll apologize again that I skipped public comment because I didn't have any forms, but I just wanted to check and make sure before we go forward with actions, if anyone does have any public comment, we can do that now. Okay, thanks.
Okay, moving on to number 6, action items, personnel. Personnel specific, 6.1, recommend action to approve professional staff resignation as submitted.
7.1, right?
I'm at 6 point.
Oh, we added, yep, you're,
Oh,
that changed, sorry.
okay. Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that. So professional staff resignations, recommended the action as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Move to combine the remainder of personnel.
A motion to combine 7.2 through 7.8. 9 is empty, right? So any questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, let me just, action items. Okay, then we move then to the business items, construction invoices. Recommended action to approve construction invoices for the Pottsgrove High School renovation project as presented.
Can I make a motion to include 8.1 through 8.4?
Okay, motion to combine all business items. We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, action items for education, mentor teachers, recommended action, approval, and mentors for newly hired teachers. Submitted.
Motion and a second. Questions or comments? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Conference attendance for the 69th Annual Eastern Athletic Trainers Association Clinical Symposium. Approval of the conference attendance as submitted.
So moved.
Any comments or questions? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Committee items, the Curriculum Technology Student Affairs Committee, we're asking to that committee to report out, please.
Okay, I don't have the official notes for the boards yet. We'll have them in the next meeting, but I'm just going to work off the notes that we had available at the present time. I want to thank the administration and a very large thank you to the English department teachers that came out. They only spend their time outside of the district, plus coming to the meetings as well to go over the different enhancements that they're looking to incorporate in the future for our education, the English department and enhancements. So a couple of things we spoke about. First, we spoke about the commencement, and in this we spoke about how many soloists and different things, items we're going to have next year. We pretty much went over a generic format of how we were looking for the commencement to go next year. There was discussion about how the soloists are going to perform, and they're going to have sort of a, how would you call it, where they were tryout?
Yeah, auditions.
Auditions for the soloists, where the committee then would in turn decide on who would be the actual soloist, and depending on how the auditions went, there could be more than one soloist. The next section we discussed was the gifted programming and how we're going to work with, this is where the education for the English department, how we're going to work with the honors, 10th grade honors to be exact. The English department went over 5 different presentations to go over. They came up with one in particular they're recommending, and that's going to be to enhance the 10th grade honors class. Make it more in line with coming forward to being in line with the AP program, so it's a direct correlation, go from the 10th grade intensive honors to the AP 11th grade, and of course the AP 12th grade. So I want to thank them for all the work they did and with the administration on coming together for that plan. That'll be presented to the board in a future meeting, of course. Actually, do we have to even approve that? I don't know if we approve that, because that's just a discussion item.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think the board actually as a full will approve, because it's more of a curriculum, a change versus a new class.
Correct.
Lastly, we went over, obviously, more data review. We're going to be increasing the little book packet that we receive as a board, and this is going to be more, it's going to include now the SATs, the ACTs, we're going to get our trends and different things like that. Then lastly, we brought up and this is, I want to make sure this is getting out to the public here. This is going to be a long, ongoing thing. This is not going to be for the 2017, 16, 17 year, and the 17, 18 year, 17, 18 year. We're going to start the process of looking into bringing a third language back to Pottsgrove. That's something that a couple of the board members, and I think a good portion of the board members, really are looking to do in the future. This is not going to be for next year, as I want to repeat again. This is going to be more of a long process, see how, if it's feasible, see the cost, see the benefits, see the cons, see if there's the interest out there in the community, and then if there is, we'll look at bringing this into the following year. And that would be the 4 options we took for the curriculum meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Leach, and now we'll talk about our reports for the athletics and co-curricular.
Could I first ask a couple questions for curriculum? Sure. Commencement was discussed at the curriculum committee. Is that typical Is that what was done last year? And is there any changes from what commencement was last year?
It's student affairs, so part of that curriculum is student affairs, commencement is part of that, so that's why it was discussed there. And there's no change, it's just logistical changes, basically some stopgaps, if you will, because there wasn't any procedures in place for our soloists, our performers. So actually the high school administration, along with the teachers that have run it in the past, felt that it was important that students audition for this because it is a prestigious night, number one, but also to be able to perform one last time in front of their classmates was important. So that was just tightened up, really, that there is a period where they apply, they audition, and then the top students, whether it's a vocalist, it could be somebody who plays a violin, it could be a quartet. We're pretty much leaving it open. We don't want too many rules. We want the best performers that our high school seniors have to offer.
You said the committee, Mr. Leach, is doing the auditions? Are you talking about the student affairs committee?
No, this is going to go through the music department.
Thank you.
Believe me, you don't want me judging auditions.
Okay, I'll report short and sweet on the athletics and co-curricular committee meeting that we had last Tuesday night. First, we've talked about this a few times. We spent a bunch of time at this meeting and policy reviewing our facilities, our use of facilities policy and our fee schedule. We talked before about how we have a lot of new or improved facilities here, especially at the high school. There have been some outside organizations that have expressed interest in using these facilities, and we had asked both Mr. Dorenzo and Mr. Nestor to work on coming up with a new fee schedule. We do have a fee schedule right now, but it hasn't been updated in quite a long time. So they did that. They came back to the committee. Also, Mr. Dorenzo had been researching a lot of neighboring districts' use of facilities policy to try and kind of glean best practice out of all of those. At this point in time, the committee felt that we had discussed it enough, and we asked Mr. Dorenzo to go back and work with the administration to draft a new policy. So I'd say the only point of interest that came from that discussion last week was that I did ask Mr. Dorenzo to consider that fee schedule and the fact that some of these events can gross an organization $10,000 to $20,000, and if our fee schedule is $125 for an hour or $250 for an outside organization, not that we should be looking to turn a profit by renting our schools, but just to make sure that something of that scale, usually if it's a big event, isn't taking more than a $250 toll on the school. Okay, when you have something where 500 to 1,000 people are through a school building on a Saturday, or using an outdoor field for 3 or 4 days, that we make sure that we're at least recouping what we have to put back into the facility after a big event like that. They do pay separately for custodial security if it's required and things of that nature, but just the wear and tear on the building to make sure that we're not selling ourselves short, because we have a lot of brand new top-of-the-line facilities here for people to use. Second, we talked about policy number 227, which is our controlled substance policy. Mr. Dorenzo's concern there was that within that policy, and that policy deals with use of controlled substances on school property during school-sponsored events. It calls out athletic and co-curricular activities separately from the rest of the student body, and he thinks that it's prudent to put them back together, treat all students the same, and look at any violations the same. So we're going to ask that the policy committee relook at that policy and submit a draft. I'm sure we can go back and get recommendations on the best possible rewrite of that policy from the state. So we'll be taking a look at that going forward. As far as funds, there is a request that's going to come to us for the purchase of an indoor batting cage for the auxiliary gym. There was one prior to the renovation. There is not one anymore. That was a piece of equipment that the baseball team relied on, and they feel that it's important to have that replaced. So they will be coming to, I asked Gary to, I think the committee authorized him to go out and get quotes. So that will be coming to the full board for a request to make that purchase. And then last, we talked about field improvement plan for the middle school. And so we had some comments from parents and a few coaches about the condition of the playing fields and the practice fields at Pottsgrove Middle School. Being on those fields quite a bit myself, I can relate. Some of them are in pretty bad shape in spots. It was a comfort to find out from Mr. Dorenzo that Mr. Cardwell already has a plan in place. So we should be seeing some improvements on the middle school playing and practice fields coming up in the next year or so. So that's it. If anybody has any questions. Okay. Okay, yep, we can move on to new business.
I have one thing, and I guess this is more of a request for, I'm not even sure what committee it would fall under, but I'm interested in taking a look at our requisition approval process. I think this probably falls below the policy level and administrative practices, and I'm guessing it may vary from building to building, specific to things like textbooks. When a teacher puts in a request for a textbook, what happens from there? How are they informed as to whether it's been approved or whether it's not been approved? When are they informed as to how it's been, whether it's been approved or not approved? This is the area of interest that I'd like to somewhere in the future explore in the most appropriate place, whether it's here at a board or policy committee, if that makes the most sense. I'm not really sure where it makes the most sense, Dr. Shirk, but it's, I think my suspicion is that it's a process that could be tightened up a little bit, and if I'm wrong, then I'll celebrate. But that's the thing that I wanted to bring up.
Just Mr. Rubinos, just for clarification, I mean, obviously, is it instructional requisitions? Is it facility requisitions? Is it supply requisitions? Like, I guess how specific, what specific area are you?
Well, those are all great things, especially if the process differs from one to the other. But my focus was more on textbooks specifically. So if there's a difference, though, between those things, then I think that would also be of interest. So hope that helps.
Thank you.
I have a question. It was brought to my attention last week that quite a few of the local school districts have on hand a supply of Narcan. And I was wondering, I love how your head popped up at that. No, you. And I just didn't know if Pottsgrove also was keeping it on hand. I think it would be very important for us to have, and I understand the nurses also need to go through training for to know how to administer it and when and.
Didn't we do this last year?
We adopted a policy, or, yeah.
Yeah, last year, the first thing we had to do, there was a grant, for the state put out a grant. So the first thing we did, the board last year, before we went home for the summer, we did a Narcan policy. And then that was approved. And then our nurses got all the training. We got the standing orders from our school physician. And then we completed the grant information and received the grant to have Narcan at our schools, high school, middle school. And we might even, we did it for lower, I think, as well. I'm not sure, because I'll have to check on the lower piece, because one of the things that the nurses talked about was sometimes it's not always about the kids. It's the people that come on site. So we felt that with the facilities and the use of them at lower, that it wouldn't be a bad idea to have that at that building as well. Now, it's not a K2 thing at this point, but it did cover all of those three buildings. Yeah.
All right, well, I apologize. I forgot about that, so.
Well, I mean, in my mind, no apologies necessary. I think we've all been reminded in the last couple of weeks about the growing problem in our community and surrounding communities as it relates to heroin specifically. So, in fact, I was just reminded that I was also contacted by a parent who was concerned about this growing issue and was asking me about a drug task force. And I think previously we had one in the school board, and the parent was asking me if we are still continuing it, and I had to say no. But Mr. President, it might be something to think about in light of the growing problem that the country has with this drug.
It was actually on my list for new business tonight,
Oh,
Rick.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. It was a good way that we came to the conversation. But yes, we did used to have a task force. I was never involved. I think it went by the wayside about three years ago. And we had looked at revitalizing it, but we never did. And I'm not sure what the task force did. My question is, what are we doing and what can we do as a district to support these kids? Bad habits tend to start early, and Pottsgrove has lost too many. One is too many, to be honest with you. And as far as I'm concerned, kids to a very real and growing problem. So I would like for us to look at what we can be doing to support these students and to guide them and to give them whatever we can to keep them on the path. So I think that's something we need to talk about more, and maybe it should go to committee first and come up with an idea, or at least come up with a summary of what we are doing and see if there's anything we're missing and that we could be doing better.
Well, for sure, I think the curriculum committee has a role here, because our health curriculum and how we're educating our students, I think, is a critical area for taking a look. And maybe we're just doing it just perfectly, but I think we should take another look at that at very least, if nothing else. And I'm sure there's plenty else that we can do.
I will tell you that our health curriculum at the high school is not sufficient for in many areas, but drug and alcohol, absolutely not. It's basically an abstinence-only curriculum for anyone in the independent study. They do add some extra to the in-class, but it needs help.
Just add a couple things that I know the administrative team has talked about, and we visited a few programs. Dealing with students, and we have them that deal with trauma in their lives, is something that we need to look at. We need to look at those students that we have in our schools that are part of the group that's economically disadvantaged, and as well. And that, it's a combo. Unfortunately, it's the same students. And I think that we're in a position now that when we look at the whole process of assessment, we need to look at that piece. We need to look at the type of trauma, the type of students culturally that are coming to us, so we can meet their needs at their level and move them forward, because everybody, it's a different scale, if you will, because of your life experiences. Those of us who come from great households and great supports, we're in a different level than those families, than those kids that don't have those supports. And the trauma that's in their lives, probably some of us never experienced what they have experienced as a 10, 11, 12-year-old. So this all fits into a common theme that we really, as a district, I thought, we owe it to our kids and their families that we work with to address this issue. And I think we're in a good position to do that. There's good resources in the Pottstown community to help us out. My hope is that, through the committee work, this is something we can start to look at fairly quickly and get some grassroots efforts, within our own staff and make a difference sooner than later. So, thank you.
And Dr. Shirk, I just wanted to comment on that. I agree with you 100% or maybe 98%. And the 2% that I disagree with is that when it comes to particularly the heroin problem that's growing in this country, a lot of information is coming out that it's across the economic spectrum, particularly with the opioid painkillers that are often the lead-in to heroin addiction. Prescription opioid painkillers, I might add. It seems to be crossing class boundaries like never before. So I just wanted to make sure that we're cognizant of that as we look at the problem, without diminishing your emphasis on the economically disadvantaged, because we definitely need to focus there.
Where we'll be training 3 to 5 new staff members at the high school level in the SAP process, which addresses this very issue and removing those barriers and finding appropriate treatments for students.
Any other new business? Okay, we'll move on to answers to previous questions.
I know, Mr. Parker, you had some questions regarding our policies that we put in place, regarding the hazing. And I just wanted to let you know, we did speak with Mr. Dorenzo, and basically, he put forth the information that's in your board packet regarding to what we do as an athletic department and how those policies and procedures are done, updated, and getting out to our student athletes and their families and coaches.
This really doesn't answer my question, though. I have a very specific question that I would like addressed. Is it within the policies that's taught to the coaches and so forth, and how they supervise the students, and that the students are not to be left unsupervised for periods of time in the locker rooms and training areas and that sort of thing? That's what I would like to look at proactively, specifically. The answer that I received back was very generic in that it's reviewed, and I'm happy the policies and procedures are reviewed, but this does not answer the question, is there an expectation on the staff that the students are supervised?
I don't want to speak for Mr. Dorenzo. I'm going to say that being in the business for a long time, I would say that is definitely an expectation. I think possibly that's something we might want to hash out a little bit more specifically in either in policy or co-curricular, so that we can have a better understanding of your specific picture of what that looks like. And then that can be, I think that needs to be discussed even more. Obviously. So maybe we can set that up and invite you to that and dig in a little bit deeper. Okay.
So on that, Bill, I know there's a hierarchy of policy and procedure that we use. Policy committee only looks at the highest level of policy, and then the hierarchy, the pyramid gets larger as it gets towards the bottom. Can we just look and see if what Bill is asking for is included in a policy? I know we don't review procedural things at the policy committee. We can absolutely add it to an agenda for the athletics and co-curricular.
And I'm not
meeting,
suggesting it
but-
needs to be policy. I'm thinking it's more of a procedural issue, which I'm fine with, as long as it's clear.
The procedure of supervision. Right.
Okay, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items that came up during new business? Okay, then with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. Then we will adjourn the meeting. Have a good night, everybody.